I wanted to talk to you. I I have to talk to a friend about something, and I think it's going to be a really difficult conversation. And I just want to know, like, what normally stops you from having difficult conversations?
For me, I think the biggest thing is my fear, right? Like that I get so afraid sometimes about, will the person still like me? Will I get nervous and start rambling on? Um, will I say the wrong things and make it worse? What about you? What stops you from having difficult conversations?
I could definitely agree. I think in this instance, it's I don't want something I say to be like misconstrued, and what I'm trying to tell them they kind of don't understand. And I don't want to look like the bad guy, I guess, in this situation either. So it's a lot of fear about that, and just genuinely maybe not even having like a true outcome after the conversation that I don't want to feel like I've wasted my time, I guess, trying to have this difficult conversation. And so even as I get closer, I thought the fear would go away, and like knowing that I have like we're meeting tomorrow, and I was like, okay, so maybe by tomorrow the fear will go away, but does it ever go away?
I don't think so. I mean, you got to think about the fact that we're just human. And, I know, I don't know about you, but I often have this like multiple voices in my head. One part of me saying, you really need to say something. And then the other part of me is often saying, well, I think it'd be easier to just not say anything. And every time I make up my mind not to say anything, I feel out my anxiety go down. So I don't want to say anything. But yet I know that I really need to say something and master my fear when it comes to having difficult conversations. I think we all have it. I don't know that it ever really goes away.
I see that. I understand that. I agree. As I get closer again to the date tomorrow, I'm like, is this conversation even worth it? Should I have any difficult conversations at all, or should I just ignore them and just kind of ignore the problem and keep it moving? And I just what are benefits of, just putting myself out there and having this difficult conversation?
I think there are a lot of different benefits. One is it helps me feel better about myself. I think when you have difficult conversations, it increases your self esteem, and not having it, then I think that makes my self esteem go down because I've put it off and I haven't done what I know in my heart is the right thing to do. So I think that's one thing that really makes a difference. I really think that what we don't say often speaks louder than what we do say. So I remind myself that if I don't have that conversation and I stay silent, I'm kind of allowing the other person to think that I agree with them. And so, I can fool myself that not saying anything allows me to avoid this conversation, but I remind myself that, yeah, I'm actually speaking a lot by not saying anything. And I think that's, for me, one of the main reasons I push myself to have those hard conversations.
That's really insightful. I wouldn't want them to take my silence as something other than what it is. So I think I'm gonna have this conversation. But before I get there, do you have any like tips or tricks on how to kind of like manage this fear and emotion and doing having the conversation?
Spend some time preparing. I mean, really taking some time and thinking about what you want this conversation to look like. Maybe even grab some paper and pencil or open up your computer and write out. You could write out the conversation from your perspective first. This is what's going on. This is what I would like to have, and just don't filter yourself. Write everything down, everything you want to come across. And then you could spend some time doing the flip, like pretend you're them, and then write out their response to you. And that's going to help you to kind of get in a sense of empathy for the person you're trying to talk to, in a sense of where maybe they're coming from. And then you can flip it again and one more time write it out from your perspective. And that preparation, I think, would really make your anxiety go down a whole lot. So I think that's one really cool tip that you can do. Spend some time preparing for it.
Wow, thank you so much. This has really helped me feel more confident and like more prepared going into this conversation. And I think you're right. There are a lot more benefits than there are downfalls of having a difficult conversation. And that's really going to help me now manage my feelings and my fears and my anxieties, writing all of what I have to say down first so I can kind of get it straight in my head too. And nothing is like lost in translation. So thank you so much.
Remember, when you're having that conversation and you start to get anxious, you start to feel that fear, remind yourself, we all feel this, you know. Think about this conversation and how much we talk about. We all feel this fear. And instead of fighting it, just be mindful of it. Recognize that fear, let it come in, breathe it out, and stay in that conversation. Remind yourself too that just speaking, just the act of speaking it out and starting to have that conversation is going to be so much. I think it's going to do so much good for you. I think you're going to feel so much better after you've talked to your friend about everything. So thinking about that end result, and I can't wait to hear how it all goes.
Yes, I can't wait to tell you. Thank you.
Absolutely.